A witness during a hearing on ESG policies got obliterated for making false claims about transgender people.
And one of the things that you said in your information here that you provided was that the dangers of ESG include promoting gender transitions for children. And I want to know, do you really believe that garbage?
It's not about believing, it's a matter of fact.
So you believe that investing strategies are actually a secret, it's weaponized to support and promote gender transition for children. I just want to, is essentially that what you're saying? Or do you just use it as another opportunity to beat up on children? So do you believe this?
I'm not the one beating up on children. It's the people who are promoting gender transitions in children that are potentially harming them.
Well, so let me tell you, if I could, let me tell you where I stepped out. And this is why I'm bringing it up. I stepped out to sit down with parents of trans kids from states that have come after their kids, and now their kids can't get the level of care that they deserve and need. And they literally said, when you leave this room, could you please, the next time you're in a room with someone bringing up yet again our children and our families as some kind of boogeyman, that you will actually stand up for us. And literally, I didn't think it would take less than a half hour. I left that hearing, here I am. I didn't know I would have such an opportunity.
Well, you know, America 2023, apparently that opportunity is everywhere. Now, that was Vermont Representative Becca Balint, and that was awesome. She's the first woman and openly LGBTQ lawmaker to represent Vermont, and she asked a question that a lot of us were hoping that they would ask, like, what are you doing? Do you believe this? Do you actually believe this stuff? And apparently, allegedly, they do. Why do I say allegedly? I think there's a deeper reason here. But first, she says, well, it's a fact. It's a fact. ESG is trying to do the gender affirming, is trying to trans your children. What? That doesn't make any sense. That's not reality. I mean, it's ESG is not even involved in trans healthcare. I don't know how these things are linked. They're not related at all. They're just not related at all. Now, what is ESG? It's basically a framework for investors to help them understand how an organization could manage risk and opportunity when it comes to sustainability. For example, environmental stuff, environmental protection, impact on society, and stakeholders, right? And how they can align that goal with shareholders. So now, of course, generally, stakeholders and shareholders do not see eye to eye. Mainly, shareholders are the ones that want to make profit at basically any cost to the stakeholder, not to themselves, to the stakeholder. So okay, but anyway. Now, as I mentioned, I think on that front, on sustainability, there's a lot of work to do. I think the government should be, doing regulation of corporations when it comes to, environmental stuff to make sure that they do not openly pollute and, do reduce their emissions. And ESG is one of those things where I think it's a little bit of greenwashing. Like, oh, we have an ESG mission statement. We're going to be carbon neutral. But that's more of like a scam. Like, for example, oh, don't worry, we're going to buy carbon credits that just allow us to pollute more. We just have to pay a little extra for it. Well, no, it's not helping. It's not doing anything. But anyway, the right wing, however, has taken ESG and they've turned this into another weirder conspiracy about how it's transing your kids. Wait, what? again, that's literally impossible. You can't do that. But apparently that's the argument they're going to go with. Now, Balint in this next video then proceeds to call out the weird obsession they have with trans kids.
But it feels like every single hearing that I am in, whether it is in oversight or whether it is in budget or whether it is in a subcommittee, somehow the witnesses find a way to bring in trans children into whatever conversation we're trying to have here.
Yeah. It's almost as if, they're obsessed with talking about the genitals of trans children. I mean, this wasn't an issue until the right wing brought it up and made it pretty much their entire platform. And it's not even popular with the voters. So I don't quite understand what the motive here is, other than, I guess, to cover for everything else. That witness, by the way, is Mandy Gunasekara. I don't know how to say her name. But she had served in the Trump administration and had done some interesting things when she was in the EPA. Turns out she had pushed Trump to pull out of the Paris Climate Agreement. He did. And then roll back environmental rules like the Clean Power Plan, which were, again, designed to prevent corporations from polluting your community. So that's who she is. And I'm guessing that's probably the real reason she's railing against ESG. And she's using the, trans kids argument because she doesn't really have anything else. Now, here's the thing, right? So companies have put themselves at risk for civil lawsuits from stakeholders if they lie about things like being, carbon neutral. We care about the environment. We're green and sustainable. And when they turn out not to be, there are people that get mad. There are environmental groups that take them to court and say, well, you are doing false advertising. Because it turns out there are Americans who look at this stuff and say, this is good. You're being more sustainable. That means I will buy your more sustainable product. And it turns out not to be sustainable. Now, Bloomberg Law noted in an article earlier this year, back in February, that as consumers become more interested in the environmental attributes of products and services, they may seek to base their purchase decisions on advertised green benefits. But if those green benefits are not actually benefits, if they're just lying about it, then yeah, that's going to put them at risk for lawsuits. Dan & Waters, for example, is litigating a consumer protection lawsuit alleging that the carbon neutral claim on the label of their Evian water is false and misleading. Another example is a utility company who claimed that natural gas was clean. No, natural gas is not a clean energy. When you burn natural gas, that's going to release methane, a greenhouse gas, again, linked to climate change, things. And so calling it clean when it's not, I mean, you might as well just be like Donald Trump calling it clean coal, Clean coal, meaning they're taking out coal, they're going to clean it. They're just going to scrub all the nasty stuff off and burn it 100% clean. No, that's not real. And you can't go out and say that stuff, market that to consumers, and then, knowing that it's not true, that it's false advertising that will open you up to lawsuits. So how does this relate to ESG? Well, ESG is basically corporations saying, yeah, we got to figure out how to not do that, how to not make ourselves liable to lawsuits, and still make as much money as possible. Because again, that is the main point of corporations, is to extract as much profit for their shareholders as possible. That's the whole point. That's why they incorporate their profit-making machines. And so if you keep getting sued all the time for lying about your products, that's going to ruin your PR. People are not going to want to buy your product. And of course, that's going to cost you as well in legal, legal fees. And so, yeah, you don't want to do that. That's why these companies are doing ESG. Again, it's just all risk management stuff. Okay. So now this is, by the way, why Republicans are going to war with ESG, as well as DEI programs, diversity, equity, inclusion programs. So that's another thing that's being used and incorporated into corporations to, again, avoid lawsuits, this time discrimination lawsuits from people who are Black or LGBTQ or a mixture. And, you know, again, generally groups that happen to be discriminated against in the workplace. DEI and ESG are just those things to say, how do we avoid effing up and getting sued? That's really all it is. So, but again, people like this woman do not want corporations to have to do these things to be more sustainable, to reduce pollution. And they don't want corporations to have to, you know, be careful not to discriminate against potential employees or employees that are actually there. Now, most Americans think these are good things, you know, not discriminating and actually trying to be more sustainable, a little bit cleaner. We like fair hiring practices. But parts of the right-wing base, unfortunately, do not agree. So like, no. We like it when you discriminate against people. In fact, we're discriminating against trans people literally right now by associating them falsely with being pedophiles. What? No, we love that. We love corporate pollution. We love corporations self-regulating. We love it that the meat industry, you know, allows for hair and feces and nails to be in your hamburger. What? We love it. We love it. We hate corporations being at all controlled or regulated by the government. And so they have combined these two different things. They've said, hey, we hate trans people, and we're going to use that as a cover in order to help corporate donors. So there it is. Now, again, as I mentioned, they falsely wanted to accuse the LGBTQ plus community of grooming kids, being pedophiles, turning them trans. But that's like literally impossible. You can't make someone want to change their gender identity. That is not a thing. The only people that are at the end of the day hurting the children are the right wingers who are trying to deny trans children gender affirming care that they need. And it's even more sickening that they're doing this. A lot of them are, at least the ones that are higher up and perpetuating these lies, okay, and disseminating to average voters. Doing so that only so they could protect their donors, protect corporations from regulation.